4 years, unlimited coaching. You can receive that £10,000 package for free.
This week we're joined by Liam Walsh, owner of the Health and Fitness Barn. Liam started off running boot camps from school halls as the venue, and now he's secured six-figure investment and has opened his first facility with 200 members in the first 12 weeks of opening.
Because I worried I was going to drop him. I literally felt weak.
Everyone who is thinking about getting a space and looking to get some funds should really listen up.
All businesses are built, aren't they, on good marketing, sales, and product delivery.
Very practical and very doable for many people listening to this.
There are people out there that have put their hand up to say, yes, I'm interested. You have an obligation, of course, to speak with them.
The way that people get ahead is getting a helping hand from those in front of them. We hope you enjoyed this episode. This episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by our partners Over and Above. Over and Above is a cutting-edge sports performance brand at the crossroads of sports science and technology. Founded by athletes for athletes, they design compression garments that optimize your body's physical capabilities. Their Proprio range focuses on proprioception, giving you improved control, movement, efficiency, and reduced fatigue. Not only are Over and Above garments perfect for elevating your own performance, especially in high rocks competitions, but they're also a great way to create an additional revenue stream by selling them as merch to your clients or members. And here's the best part, FMA clients get a 30% profit share on every sale. Ready to take your training and business to the next level? All you need to do is visit oaperformance.com to find out more. That's oaperformance.com. Liam, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you down. Now, you are one of our longest standing clients, I believe. You've been with us since late 2019, is that correct?
Yeah, September 2019, I came on board with FMA.
Amazing. And you've had an incredible journey to where you were before then. So just to summarize before we kind of dive in, you've just opened up your brand new facility, which you've invested a six-figure sum in. You've got 200 clients. You're in a really strong position and continuing to grow. But when you first came to us, the business was just a boot camp in a hall, and revenue was minimal. But even before that, there was still some challenging times as a business owner. So what I'd love to do is for you to give us the whistle tour of your career in the fitness industry up until that point of where we met. And I think it's really important for people to understand the context of what point you were at in your kind of business career when you first met us. And then we're going to go through that process of how you grew the business to where it was, to where you are now, and everything you've done in between. So yeah, if I can hand it over to you to give us a little bit of an intro, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Obviously, it's exciting to be here. I was a little bit apprehensive on the drive, actually, as I mentioned earlier. So, but no, it's all good. So yeah, I've always worked in the fitness industry, studied sports science at college, and did that thing with personal training and as a fitness manager, etc. So I went self-employed actually 18 years ago next week. And I remember that because it was the day my daughter was born, and it's her 18th next week.
So the day your daughter was born, it was the day you went self-employed?
Yeah, it was the last day that I was due to show up for employment because she was born. I never actually showed up for my last day of employment because she was being born. And then the Monday after that, was my first day in as a self-employed PT. It was at an LA fitness gym in my hometown. I was fortunate there was a good mentor there, and he helped me. It was quite a scary thing, lots of change. But I thought at the time, when I went self-employed, within sort of just a few weeks, I thought, right, it'd be interesting to see me track this new career path alongside my daughter's life. So within, I think it was about maybe even after a year, I thought that, and I thought, she's just now learning to walk, and my business felt like, right, I've got this good established, client base of PT clients, and I could see these sort of parallels. I thought, right, I want to continue to, at each sort of moment, her first day at school, her first day at senior school, all these things. Right, am I keeping track with her progress in life from a business perspective as well, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. And so you went self-employed, you kind of built up the business, and kind of fast forward to maybe, a few years before we kind of met in your business career. Run us through what happened in the lead up to that point.
Yeah, sure. So from being a successful PT, I felt, it's quite a low ceiling as a PT. You're fully booked. What can you do other than just charge more per hour? But you go on holiday, you don't earn. So I'd previously worked at a Spirit Health Club, which was part of Holiday Inn Hotels. And went to them and basically sort of proposed to recruit and mentor personal trainers. Because I'd helped PTs, I was very good naturally at sales. I just found that every time I did a consultation, sat down with someone, showed them how I was going to help them, they'd sign up for 16 sessions with me, pay me 500 quid. And other PTs would really struggle with that, although they had the knowledge. So I found myself naturally just helping my friends out to get more clients. I thought, why not do this as a business? So managed to get an actual contract with the Holiday Inn hotels, built it up to a good level, had it national, and then Holiday Inn sold off their gyms, and basically the business sort of went pop. So from earning, a decent income at the time, I was in my late 20s, I think, and I was in my mid to late 20s, through sort of $5,000 a month, and which is a lot more as I was getting as an employee. But that went pop. Then thought, right, this is the route I want to go down.
And so overnight, your income just disappeared?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But I had a structure. I had 4 mentors around the country, one in Leeds, one in Norwich, Bristol, and in London. And I thought, these are great PTs that have been with me and mentored me. We had a really successful thing with Spirit. We had great testimonials from the management, etc. So I actually approached the gym group. And at this point, I knew I'm 2 months away from literally being at zero, because I'd given up all my PT clients and this was sort of my bread and butter. So met with their actual owner at the time, and I think still is, John Trahan. Basically just emailed him off the cuff. I thought, right, I'm sort of did a bit of research and said to him something along the lines of, I can make you £200,000 profit a year whilst improving member retention and staff retention at no cost or risk to yourself. Please get in touch, if you're interested, that sort of thing. His PA contacted me, arranged a meeting, and went and spoke with him, and someone said to me, Liam, he will give you 10 minutes max. Make sure you're on the point. And as you can probably already tell, I like to talk. So I was, really having to dial in exactly what I was going to say to him. I made him laugh, luckily, on the first bit of the meet. And then spent about an hour with him. He did a lot of the talking at the start, and he shook my hand and agreed. He loved the proposal that we were basically going to be bringing in, recruiting and mentoring PTs at the clubs and charging a rent. And the deal would have actually had the potential to earn up to £100,000 a month for my business. Bearing in mind, the next month I'm pretty much going to be at zero because of Holiday Inn, which I haven't shared.
Yeah, so you've kind of lost all your income. You're kind of living off whatever you've got left, and then you get this opportunity with earning potential of 6 figures. What was it, a month, did you say?
Yeah, so we were going to be earning, bringing in £500 per PT. We agreed to have 2 PTs per club, so £1,000 per club, and there was over 100 clubs. Yeah. And I knew we had the infrastructure to deliver on this. We're going to do a trial period, and then decide from there. So it wasn't all signed up. Yeah. But it was you had the prospect of, here we go, here's something going on, and then it fell apart over the course of the next couple of months. So I'd sent everything in writing, but we then I got passed on to the national manager, and in the meeting we'd agreed we weren't going to put it to the regionals until we'd actually tested it. But that didn't happen in the end, and it all just unravelled and basically didn't happen. So I found myself left with my wife on maternity leave. We just had a son. And when I got the news, I was sort of, probably then being a bit too pushy, because I was sort of probably showing that I was desperate without knowing it at the time, and sort of chasing this. And a few months later, I remember holding my son in my arms when they called me. He was about 6 months old. And they phoned to say, look, really sorry, but we're not going to go ahead with this. It's not the right time for us. And I'd put all my eggs in one basket in terms of, emotionally to it and thinking how this is all going to work. And I remember it just hit me like someone had told me a loved one had died. I remember being stood up with him in my arms, and I had to sit down because I worried I was going to drop him. I literally felt weak all over my body.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was right. Well, next, this month's food's going on a credit card, because I need to rebuild. It was literally at zero.
So you're really, really close to kind of not having any income to at all at that point, because obviously you had no income. You then put your focus in this thing that was potentially going to pay off, and now you're at a point where you're struggling to provide for your family, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So it was tough, and I thought, right, what am I going to do to make this work? And I knew I had bigger ambitions than just delivering one-to-one PT.
And
that was always there.
The reason I wanted you to tell that story is because on the internet, on Instagram, people consistently show these hyper successful business owners, but the reality is there's so many people that are probably currently right now in the position that you were, which is, struggling to pay bills, placing food on credit cards, having the pressure to provide for your wife, your kids. And I want anyone listening to this to have that reassurance, because the good news is that this story, with hard work and with support, goes in a really amazing direction. But if you are sitting in that position right now and thinking, how am I going to do this? This is an example of exactly how you can find the success you're looking for and really get that fulfillment. So I really wanted to set the context of where you were, kind of literally, spiritually, emotionally, before you started this journey of growth. Because if you're in that situation where you're feeling a little bit desperate, it's definitely possible, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Amazing. So you get this, you're in this position. And what's your sort of plan of action there moving forward? Because you said yourself, like, you don't want to do one-to-one PT anymore. It will limit you. You have ambitions to go bigger. What was your plan? What was your desire and goals at that time?
Yeah, so I suppose it could have been over a few weeks. I don't remember exactly. But I just remember thinking I need to go back to what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about. So your head's a bit sort of jumbled. And, of course, I've got this, like, elephant in the room of I need to be earning good money. I wanted to be, sort of earning well. So it was trying to sort of bear that in mind as well. But I just knew that it had to be in the fitness route. There was no way I was going to go into any other industry. Yeah. So that's where my passion is and my skill set. So I just decided, right, I'm going to go into Bootcamp. That was quite a big thing back then. So we're talking 10 years ago. Yeah. And then just used a friend, but it's my cousin's husband, to help me, asked him to help me with marketing. And we ran Facebook ads. Back then, pretty breezy. So we were, I remember the first time it happened, hired a local school hall, ran an ad, and 30 women just turned up. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I don't know any of them.
What were you charging at the time for the bootcamp?
So 6 weeks could come, I think, unlimited for like £120.
Okay, cool. So for 6 weeks, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No systems.
How much were they paying a month after that at this point in time?
Weren't. So there wasn't a structured plan. It was just 6 weeks.
Oh, so every 6 weeks.
Roller coaster of income.
Yeah.
But hey, 3 months ago I had zero, so I was like happy.
Yeah.
That some weeks I'm taking £1,000, £2,000, £3,000.
And it's really important to establish what your prices were then, because later on in this journey, before we get to the gym, your prices dramatically increase, and that's the key difference. But the mechanism of delivery has, of course, improved, but the, let's say, facility is similar to what it once was before. But we'll go into that in just a moment. So you moved into a school hall. You ran you had 30 people in a boot camp. It was £120 for 6 weeks of unlimited training. Every 6 weeks they could renew. So you were getting an income, which was good. It was, supporting the base level needs of where you're at, but still a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't have any systems in place. It was literally a book. I had an A4 line book. I'd write everyone's name in, tick it off, and then put the due date of when they're due to pay again. And I'd sort of be on there and sometimes like sweating, thinking, oh, my bank account's low. Who's due? I know you're not due for another couple of weeks, but it was all that sort of, stuff. And it was good. But then what we did, looking back wrong, was we'd run a Facebook ad using the front video, and then that would work really well. We'd turn it off, have some people in, and then 2 months later, we'd run that same video again. And surprisingly, it would work again. And then sometimes we'd go for a year using the same video for our ads. And then wondering, the cost per lead is getting pretty high now and we're not getting many on. Yeah. Because literally every person had seen it. So, but bottom line, fast forwarding it, that interest just went right down and we really started to struggle. And I looked at another sort of fitness business marketing agency, came close to going on board with them, and I'm just so glad I didn't, because coming on board with FMA, it was sort of, I knew that the business was starting to drop. Yeah. We had about 75, 80 members, maybe 100 at sort of good months, but that was it. We just couldn't get past that because the ads would stop being effective. And
so how much was the business, because I know you said 70 members, but because of the way the business was structured, how much were you doing a month at the time?
I think I was definitely having to supplement with personal training one-to-one.
Okay.
So I went back to some old clients and was getting them. So as well as launching Ladies Bootcamp. So I went with Ladies Only Bootcamp because previously attending some marketing seminars, I knew that you need to sort of find your niche.
Yeah.
And I knew most of my PT clients previously were ladies. So I thought, right, well, go down that route. And that sort of worked well.
And to take away the PT, how much was that business in isolation just doing at that point in time?
I think about 4,000 a month.
Okay, cool. But I'd say a choppy 4,000 in terms of maybe it went up, maybe it went down, just because the way the business was structured, there was nothing there.
There was no standing orders at all.
Yeah. You then speak with Ben at the time, and you come on board. And another thing, and you, how did you pay to come on initially?
Yeah. So just quickly, the first one was I'd seen marketing from FMA and Ben, and then I got in contact, did a call, and I actually didn't sign up on the call. So I decided, I took a few nuggets of information, and because I didn't really have much spare income, I decided I'd try it myself. And one of the things FMA had said to me on that call was, when you do an ad, use it in a recognisable location. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do that then. That will work. But still, there's a lot more to it, obviously. So it didn't get me the results. It sort of improved it a little bit, but then just dropped back down again. So it was actually a whole 12 months after I first spoke with FMA on the phone.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I then went again, and going to the point you just mentioned there, I then used a credit card to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that spare income, but I knew that I had to try something, and I couldn't do it on my own. Unfortunately, just the one regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, and so a couple of points I want to go back to. One is trying to replicate the marketing to try and do it on your own, because some people will see even clients that are with us like, oh, it actually looks pretty easy to do. But actually, when it comes to marketing, there's a lot of thought that goes into every single word, whether that's the copy and the ad or actually the video script. So you could look at someone else's marketing and go, I'm going to replicate that. But really, unless you understand like human psychology and really understand and nail down direct response marketing, it's much harder. It looks easy, but it's actually much harder in execution. And then to go to the next point, and I wanted to highlight this, is that you paid on a credit card initially, which is high risk, right? In the position that you're in, you're kind of getting by in the business. You obviously don't have the funds to put in of your own accord. What was your mentality at that point in time towards risk? Because it's not losing money you already have, it's losing money that you don't have. So what was your mentality at that time?
I didn't actually sort of consider it. I thought, right, if I go all in on something, then that's it. I'm just focused on the end goal. So
and is that,
I wasn't sweating on it.
Is that you backing yourself up to be able to go in on something versus,
Yeah, I just thought, I know that, as we know, all businesses are built, aren't they, on, good marketing, sales, and product delivery, whatever that may be. And you get those three things, you're not going to go too wrong. And so I knew the marketing piece was missing. I know my stuff, and that we could deliver great sessions, great retention, and people skills, like sure we all are in the fitness industry. So I knew that bit was all going to be good.
Yeah, and so my belief is there's so many people in the fitness business space that aren't where they want to get to, but and the thing that is in their way is a lack of help from someone else. And this isn't here to say like you need FMA to whoever who's listening, but help from someone, whether it is about the product or it's about the service or the finances. Like the way that people get ahead is getting a helping hand from those in front of them. And so many people are in like this catch-22 spot where they need the help, but they also need the money to get the help.
Yeah.
So they're waiting to be able to get but they would only get the money if they're able to get the help to help grow the business to then bring it in. So many people are stuck in this situation here. And I think it's important, and also this is by no means any sort of advice saying, go chuck something on a credit card and take wild, and take wild risk. But in business, there is a level of risk to everything you do. And, the most successful owners are probably the biggest risk takers. They're the people that are putting most in there. So, and if you hadn't taken a risk and that risk, it did work out, but potentially it couldn't have worked out right. And that's really your thought process at the time. If you didn't take the risk, you wouldn't have had all the reward you've had since. Mm-hmm. And there is so much reward. Like I know, like you've bought your home now because of that. And it's like, if you had gone all the way back and you decided not to take the risk of putting it on that,
it'd be so different.
You wouldn't be on there. Yeah.
No,
So
not at all. And it's not just that help, as you've highlighted there, Charlie, but it's also the community bit. That's huge. Really massive in terms of, being able to share ideas and all that stuff. And the mastermind events, the first one that I went to was at Twickenham, so that was in November 20, where are we, 19, I think?
Yeah.
So, and I was just, wowed. I was so excited to go, and then, rubbing shoulders and sharing conversations and just being a sponge for information.
Yeah. Well, being an entrepreneur is super lonely, right? And when you're doing it on your own, it's hard to find the answers. Mm-hmm. So when you can, again, surround yourself by other people that are like-minded and have the same goals as you, they often have the solutions to the problems that you are facing. And to anyone listening to this right now, like, a reason why you may enjoy this podcast is because you get to listen to people just like you, and you get to listen to their struggles and vulnerabilities and challenges and successes, and you can relate to that. So when you're saying, like, being part of the community, it's because you know that you're not alone and you're surrounded by people that can help you get you there. Well, I believe that anyway.
Yeah, definitely. We mirror our environment, don't we? So.
Amazing. So you came on board, and from that moment you built up the in-person, the boot camps in the school. COVID happened, all that fun stuff. Let's fast forward past COVID, because I feel like most people don't like talking about COVID anymore. We're all a little bit done with it. But you then start to grow the business. But there's two factors that I think that, or there's one factor in particular that I think that it was a skill set that potentially you had before coming to FMA, but obviously you went through the trainings, which was your sales process. Mm-hmm. So you are an incredibly strong salesperson. So, and just to give an example of this, walk us through. Actually, let's just can you walk us through, like, when you came out of COVID, had the school halls, but then you moved into the temporary facility that you had before the gym?
Yeah, one thing, anyone that's listening to this that is in a position where I was, where you're renting multiple halls, I was of the mindset that I couldn't get one facility because then I'm going to lose some clients. Yeah. So I just thought, well, those people over at that facility aren't going to, if I have it central, still not going to be able to please everyone. But you can't please everyone, as we know. So you just have to go there. And that's what Ben said to me. That was one of the things that really stood out, was a bit of a selling point for me. Where everyone else on these sales calls of marketing agencies were sort of saying to me, doing blatant sales techniques. One of the first things Ben said was, right, okay, my first bit of advice to you is you need a facility. And I thought, oh, wow, okay. And then coming out of COVID, we basically rented a huge an old barn that was used for weddings, which no weddings were happening after COVID for quite a while, and theatre productions. It was amazing, big 600-year-old barn, 300-metre driveway up to it. It was like the perfect place. And we were one of the only places open, obviously, after, and I know you didn't want to delve into the COVID bit, but sales were very easy then. Yeah. And it was all good. But quite quickly, as everything went back to normal, there were lots of midweek weddings, because there's a huge backlog of weddings coming. And we suddenly were left with this, oh my God, we can't use our facility for vast periods of weeks, months, etc. So we had to find something else. By this point, one of the features of the barn was there was about 30 to 40 parking spaces available at the front. It was really idyllic. But, of course, trying to find a unit with 30 parking spaces, because we'd run a large group and a small group at 9:30 a.m, so we'd have 40 people on the site. You couldn't find anywhere, unless you wanted to pay 10 grand a month rent, which was, well above our budget. So fortunately, we found something just down the road, which was a big wedding marquee. Well, it was a piece of land, and then I bought a big wedding marquee that we erected with some AstroTurf flooring down, and we evolved into that. Yeah. And I think the bit that you were just moving on to then was how then we managed to sell, although we're not in this beautiful barn where the weddings took place. And it was quite an easy sell, to be fair, especially post-COVID. We then moved to a wedding marquee, which was, again, easy to sell in the summer. But in the winter, when it's howling and flapping around and freezing cold and pushing ice off the roof of it.
And just to recap, we went from school halls to this really nice barn to having to move out to there and to going to more of a temporary location, which was a structured marquee there. And when I came to visit it, it was during the time when you're building the current gym that you're in now, which is actually just at the back of where the marquee was. But when I came to visit it, it was functional and it delivered, but you could also tell that the weather had given it a little bit of a battering, and it was
it lightly as well.
Yeah, and
it was ripped to shreds.
Yeah, and it served the purpose, but probably wasn't the ideal situation. But you also had no other choice at the time, right? Because you had to adapt, and that's what entrepreneurs do. Despite that, despite the location that you were in, this this marquee that had been taking a hit from the weather, you were still able to sell packages at what was it? $395, and that's for 6 weeks. And what was the retention rate of those people that came on board?
Yeah, so we were selling $395 6-week challenges and converting 70%. Sometimes it dropped to sort of 60. And looking back now, it's interesting because when you're in your little bubble, I'd come to sort of the mastermind events with FMA, and I'd be in a room of fitness business owners that were predominantly had their own facility, bricks and mortar, and I'd hear people talking about conversion rates and that 70%, 75% is sort of your benchmark, somewhere in there. You're doing okay then, and it didn't sort of occur to me at all that hang on, Liam, you're in this. Sort of, okay, it's a big industrial sort of almost wedding marquee, but it was freezing cold and not ideal. And we're hitting that. But I didn't think in my mind, not for 1 second did I think, well, I'm in a marquee, so okay, I need to be a bit mindful of that. And maybe, anything above 50% is good. I felt the same as everyone else in the room because it's the coaching and the community that's the big draw for people.
Yeah, and your pricing was higher than many people that actually had a facility, but it was a marquee. But you did change the model at that point in time because you were Bootcamp and then you moved to just large group training and small group training. Is that correct?
Yeah, so two factors really. One was obviously government restrictions after COVID, was the fact we had social distancing and you could only train 5 people at once.
Yeah.
But during that, the very first mastermind I went to, I was chatting to a few, and this is why I mentioned the community sort of importance earlier, spoke to a few of the other actual facility owners, and they were talking about small group that I'd never really factored in before. I'd only ever done 1-to-1 or large group bootcamp, and they were talking about this 1-to-4, 1-to-6 model. And I thought, hang on, that's interesting, because if the price point's higher per person, but you can, it just made sense to me without crunching the figures. And then when I did, I thought, yeah, this makes sense. And also it means people can still have attentive coaching, which a lot of people need. I'm sure a lot of people listen to this, if your average, look across your average client base, they're probably in their 40s and 50s. And I personally believe that those in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they benefit and really do need that attentive coaching that's scaled to their level. You can get away with going to do, a big circuit or boot camp when you're in your 20s and 30s because you don't necessarily have all the medical background issues or mobility issues, injuries that you have later in life.
But you were saying also that like your market is like 40 to 50, and I would also say that they're people that are paying a premium price but probably wouldn't classify themselves as gym goers, if that
Correct.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But those people, and this is such a strong message to everyone listening, those people would rather pay a premium price to have that attentive coaching, and they would do that coaching in a marquee versus going inside and paying a cheap amount for a gym, because they don't like that gym atmosphere. They don't like the nerves that person has to go into a regular pure gym or budget gym or whatever it is so unappealing to them that they would much rather pay a premium fee to be looked after by a professional, despite the layout and not having any heating, for example.
Yeah, we used to have a blow heater in the winter. So it was outdoors, a diesel blow heater, blowing in, but of course within a marquee it doesn't really hold the heat in at all.
Yeah.
And we'd have 6:30 a.m. sessions still in January in a marquee. We'd obviously have light in there because it was hooked up. We had toilets on site as well because there was a building next to it, but too small to use for training. And people would come in and you're setting up, sort of 6:15, and people still come in early sometimes, and they'd stand round this blow heater. And I look back now and think it's crazy really how we managed to keep going. But for the 18 months to 2 years that we were in the marquee, numbers grew.
Yeah.
And I actually put the price up.
Yeah.
So October 2023, I decided, right, let's put the price up. Because again, in the FMA community, there's, I heard conversations about you've got to test the price increase. So we put our prices up 10% for new members. We didn't charge the current members anymore, but new members coming in, we just put the price up 10%, and we actually had our best sales month of the year in the October, and put prices up. So it's going back to that original sort of quote of
what do you put that down to, by the way? Because again, like in spite of being in this venue that is a temporary accommodation, it's not ideal, it's not the shiniest place compared to other places, yet you're growing, you're increasing your prices. Like, what attributes from you personally and also the service you provide do you put down to being able to do that?
A bit of everything, I guess, in terms of obviously the marketing was strong and the organic stuff that was going out. So we had a reputation locally, which helped, but certainly not huge. Most people probably didn't know about us if you'd have asked them, but that certainly was a contributing factor. I think the fact that we do one call close, so that's something that we've been shown by you guys.
And I personally think this is a big factor, is your personal sales ability, because you are very strong at sales. And again, like, you're able to sell these £400 packages for this service and getting people to retain. So and again, you do that all over the phone. Is it a 15-minute phone call? How long does that take?
So I don't rush it. 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, nice. So you actually take your time on the phone and go through process.
The bottom line is, if someone says, okay, what's the secret to you selling? I talk to people. So I don't sell to them. I'll talk with them.
Nice.
I don't talk to people. I talk with them. And I've had, staff, my wife say to me, oh, you're amazing on the phone. You don't sound like you're doing consultation.
Yeah.
You're talking with them. And that, I think, is the key. And I genuinely do care, obviously. That's why I'm in the fitness industry. I genuinely do care. And I will, find out lots about them. I think anyone who's done sales calls, or let's say consultation calls within the fitness industry, you're probably quite surprised how much people share with you. They don't even know you. And, we've recently brought on my sister in to help with new member calls. And she was wowed by the fact that people just tell you so much personal information over the phone. They haven't even met you yet. So drawing that out of people and having that trust, even though they haven't necessarily met you. And some people I speak to, and do you know much about us? No, I've just seen an advert on Facebook. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. It's just talking.
And as you know, there's many people out there that will see an ad, will have a phone call, and will pay £400 for a service, and then be a long-term member for that service. So let's say you spend 30, 40 minutes with that person. How long do you spend finding out information about them and where they are and where they want to go? If you were to go like percentage-wise of time.
Yeah, as long as it sort of takes, but probably 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, nice.
So that's, the average, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the answer you gave is how long it takes, like, rather than a time frame, is actually the perfect answer, because you need to be able to find out all the information you need before you can kind of move on to that next step. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have it, then everything else is going to be harder, right, when you go into that pitch and that close process.
I position the call at the start anyway, that let's do the call to see if it's a good fit. And I know it could sound like a bit of a sales pitch, because I'll say, we don't take on everyone. We're not like a gym. And if it isn't the right fit, I'm happy to recommend something else for you locally. I've been in the industry over 20 years, so I can point you in the right direction. And on some occasions I do. I do say that, okay, we're not the right fit. Maybe they don't have the funds to do it, or the timetable doesn't fit their availability, or they just need something different. And I will recommend other things for them. And I sort of make it a bit lighthearted and saying there are a few things I'll tell you to avoid as well. So I can point you in the right direction, and that always sort of just... I think there's a few things, or there's two things that you've highlighted that go to the same, what is the word I'm looking for? The same attribute, which is that you're not too attached to the sale itself. Mm-hmm. Whereas one, you'll turn people away, and there's a lot of power to turning people away, because if you're just trying to get everyone in, then you can start to come across with that maybe desperation or commission breath. The first thing you said initially was that you don't sound like you're selling, you're just having a conversation. And that's when the perfect sales are made, where there's just a flow of conversation between you and the other person. They don't feel like they are being sold to. They just feel like they're having a conversation with an expert in their field. Mm-hmm. That is when you've achieved like the pinnacle of sales, because again, like, people don't like to be sold to, but they like to buy. So if you can have a decent conversation where you really understand them, and they get
to the end and they're really keen to pay you, that's when you've done an excellent job. So I think those are the two attributes that you have based on everything you said there.
Definitely. And I'll still take notes. So although it will be a conversation, I'll still be taking notes.
Yeah.
To do the recap and ensure that
it's super important to follow the structure, right? Because you want to make sure that you are following a system and a structure that works, but at the same time you don't want the structure to make you too rigid within the sales process, right? And so people can again like tell that you're selling. So that's super important there as well. And so did you say you've now delegated the sales to your sister?
I'm still involved. I still probably do 50%. But yeah, we've got another coach who's good as well, Becky. She's great with sales. So I've just sort of trained her up, and her conversions are probably as strong as mine. So we haven't done, because we've sort of started the year now and we didn't do any sort of over Christmas, but the last time, so we just had our launch in October, which obviously we're about to come to. I think we had it was about 80% on our calls. It was really high, for myself and Becky.
Wow.
We were doing 8 out of 10.
Wow.
On those calls. That's the highest we've got to. So we'd always want on those calls 50%. But for the last couple of weeks, and I think because of the new facility coming, and there was a lot of buzz around it.
And what would you say to anyone that says like, I don't like calling leads, or sometimes I call and people don't pick up, or they pick up and then they hang up and it's a really pain. I don't want to chase leads. Like what are your views on experiencing that? Because I'm sure you do experience that as well, but it's a process, right? So what are your views on that whole situation?
Yeah, it's got to be done, hasn't it? We know it's time consuming to have to pick up the phone. And ideal scenario, of course, is to have people book calls with you. So we'll always offer that as an option. So when we run any direct sort of marketing campaign, we will look for people to book calls with us. And then I will do some of the calls where we will have leads who haven't booked calls and follow up with them. I'll try to delegate that stuff out because it is a grind, but you have to do it. And I've done that, at the start before I had a bigger team. Did that and went through it. And it is just knowing, okay, there are people out there that have put their hand up to say, yes, I'm interested. And you have an obligation, of course, to speak with them. And one thing I have to remind the team often is, until they've told us no, it's not a no. Just because they haven't picked up the phone, that's not a no. I'm probably one of those people that if you try and call me for something, I might show an interest in something and I'm busy and I won't pick up. And it probably will take someone 5 calls, if it is them trying to sell something to me or me to purchase something, probably would.
100%. And I think people make that mistake where they'll call once, twice, maybe 3 times, and they go, they're not interested. Now I'm just calling a dead lead, when you couldn't be further from the truth. And like an example is that I recently signed up to Bootcamp, but I inquired once before, and I received an email and I got calls, and I didn't pick up. Just because I was busy, I was on the way to work. I had a Zoom call. I was, while I could be doing a podcast. While the phone was ringing, I was busy, so I didn't pick it up. Now, if you're unsophisticated in sales, you could take that as a hint of this person's not interested. Well, that's not the case. They're just busy living their life and doing everything they do on a day-to-day basis. The second time I inquired, I got a call, and I was on the way to something, and I said, "Can you call me back? I'm busy." And they did, and I didn't pick up. Now, despite all of those situations where I didn't actually proactively sign up and buy, I still ended up becoming because I had full intention of doing it. I just wanted to do it when I got round to it. So,
sorry to interrupt there. One thing that I've learned is, if you're going to be successful in business, and ultimately, it's very obvious, isn't it? In business, really, there's going to be sales within it, because you're promoting it to people. But resilience and focus are 2 for me, the key attributes. So just quickly rewinding back to when I had my proposal at Spirit Health Clubs, I phoned the national operations manager. I did a bit of research to the club managers first. I'd phone round the club managers and say, look, this is what I'm looking to propose, trying to do a bit of market research. And some of them were blunt. No, thanks, don't want that. Phone down. And the actual club manager who I knew, who I used to work for, she said, I don't think that'll work because of X, Y, and Z. But I had such a focus and needed to be resilient. And when I finally put this presentation together, it took me about 4 or 5 months went to the national sales manager, called him, no response, left him a voicemail, and I called him twice a week for 7 weeks. Call or email, mostly calls and texts and things. 7 weeks, and he didn't respond. And he called me back when I was actually PTing someone. But it took that to get that contract, and that contract would never have happened if I would have just given up on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth phone call.
Yeah.
So I think taking that into everything you do, whether it is sales calls or whatever line of the business you do, if you're really focused on it until you get the hard no, you have to keep going.
Yeah, like when you have that goal in mind and you know that you need to hit a certain amount of sales in the month and you have the leads to do it, sometimes you've got to be relentless, right? And when you are so focused on that goal, you will succeed. Mm-hmm. But again, like if you don't want to do sales calls and then after 1 or 2 calls you just give up on that lead, of course you're not going to succeed, right? Because there's so much opportunity you're just batting away. And again, it's not because, again, like that example, it took you 7 weeks to get hold of someone, 2 calls a week, 14 dials to finally get through to be able to secure this. And there's people out there that will pick up on the 7th, the 8th time you call them and will sometimes become your best customers, but people are very scared because they think that they're being a pest but the reality is that someone has entered their name, their email, their telephone number, they filled out an 8-point application. Like that's a very qualified lead and that's a very high signal that someone's interested. So
you have to remember as well is that what you're actually potentially selling or offering, it isn't something that's going to be, so if we're doing a 6-week challenge for 395, well, we know that right now we're at the highest conversion rate of 90% from that 6-week onto our monthly offering at the back end. So if someone's going to be with us for 3 years and spend £6,000, well, this isn't a phone call for 395. This is a phone call for 6,000.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
Are you only going to give that 2 attempts and then they don't pick up?
And I think that's the way to frame it to everyone listening to this as well, because if you know what your conversion rate is and you know that for every 1 to 2 front end sales you make, that will translate into a customer that is then going to spend multiple thousands of pounds with you. You know that every time you dial and every time you get a sign up, or maybe 2 sign-ups, depending on whatever your conversion rate is, it's going to equate to that. That's a really good incentive to be able to continue to call. Yeah. Because for you, with 90%, pretty much every person, that's an average of multiple thousands of pounds. Some people's conversion rate might be 50%. So for them, every 2 people they sign up, they know that you're going to make 2, 3, 4,000 pounds in the long run, depending on how good your service is. I think that's a really, really good way to frame that for sure. I really, really like that. And so just to kind of wrap up the era with the marquee, so you grew the business, you grew the client numbers. How much revenue roughly were you hitting a month
so it
there?
grew over the period of time. The marquee was only ever a temporary option.
Yeah.
That was just there. So we found ourselves in a situation where we're in the marquee, we're looking actively, sort of almost on a weekly basis, to find something. Now, we had a very specific...
And just before we talk about where you found the new place, like what revenue numbers did you build up the marquee to before you went on to that next chapter?
So we got up to 150 small group members.
Nice, amazing.
We were up to that because after COVID it went back to 0. We built back up. We used a bounce back loan to recruit some team members.
Nice, amazing.
So we had a membership manager, 2 full-time coaches, myself and a part-time coach. That was the team.
And again, before we move on to this next section, just to give everyone that reassurance that, if Liam can build up 150 small group members and build his business from, 3,000 a month initially in that school hall, all the way to probably around, I'm not sure how much it is.
Yeah, it was hitting by the end 16,000 of monthly recurring revenue.
Okay, nice.
And then we were obviously having sales coming in of new members too.
Cool. Yeah. So
150.
Okay, amazing. So 16,000 recurring revenue in an outdoor location, and that's not including front end sales. And the reason you were able to do that is purely down to your sales ability, the community, and the care that you put into every single member. It just goes to show that you do not need a super shiny gym initially to be able to get your business started, to be able to build a community, to be able to build thousands of pounds of revenue every single month, and to be able to build a team. You don't need to wait until that moment that your gym is perfect and you're a shining example of actually building a very successful business without all the bells and whistles. But because you've managed to do that, you are then able to, and we're going to move on to the next point, where you have been able to build that gym that has all of the features, all the bells and whistles on there. So let's move on to that stage. So you've built up the business. You then are looking for this next venue. So how long did it take you to find this venue?
So to be honest, 2 years really, because we had something that was doing okay. And, in that marquee, it's great for 5-6 months because it had some outdoor space and you could take the sides up and it was lovely.
So in summer it was really nice.
Brilliant, lots of outdoor space, and we would have people coming to us going, "Oh, this is amazing," but then of course you'd have the winter months. So which was terrible. But so we were looking for a facility that had at least 20 car parking spaces. Because of our older demographic, I knew people wouldn't want to park 5 minutes away and walk in, because if it's raining, it's just, I think that would have been an issue. And
I visited where the gym is. It would be hard to walk from that space because there's no real footpath around there. So we had to, and there was parking on the site with the marquee. There's some hard standing out back, which was all good. But for us to move to a unit, we knew we needed at least 20 spaces. We wanted some outdoor space because we'd always done outdoor as a boot camp in the summer at the schools, on tennis courts, whatever. And then at this barn, we had huge sort of fields outside, about the size of a football pitch. We had outdoor for our own use. So our members had just been used to that. And we had really good retention with sort of a nice core group of members that had been with us for years and years. And I wanted to keep them on board. I had sort of, good relationships with them, wanted to keep them happy. And for our own sort of brand as well, we wanted that outdoor feel. Eventually, luckily, next door came up a sign, units to let. So I contacted them and had a meeting with them. It's literally, next door. So the landowner had this sort of huge space and said, right, I've got planning permission for 2 units. Neither of them were as big as I wanted. So the biggest was 24 metres by 8. What's that in square foot, do you know?
So I think about 2,000.
Okay, cool.
Off the top of my head, roughly. Maybe less, 1,500 to 2,000. I was looking for about 3,000 square foot. So I thought, right, okay, we want ideally 20 metres by 15. That would be sort of minimum. And then, because of office space and showers or anything else you could add on top of that. So anyway, I said, okay, let's look to do it. So sat down, we have a team meeting every Wednesday. At this point, we've got 3 full-timers, a membership manager and who also is part-time coach, who used to be a member. We've got a great, she's got a great story there. And 2 full-time coaches. So we sat down, the 4 of us, said, right, guys, look, we've got this opportunity here. This is what we've been waiting for. Lots of potential outdoor space that's for parking and seamless transition. It's next door.
It's literally next door. So I've been to visit the gym when it was a shell. So it wasn't even a building at the time of when I visited it. But where the original space was, it's literally there's a hedge, and then next door is where the facility is. So really, really lucked out there, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. But then again, you waited 2 years.
2 years, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it was fortunate. But like I say, we had waited and tried lots of avenues. We weren't just sat there waiting. I'd been to see lots of different properties, came close a couple of times, but it just didn't feel right. We're fortunate because the location as well, where we are, got sort of 120,000 in the local area. So, and it's got some affluent pockets of communities around our area. So it's ideal. So sat down with the team, said, right, okay, we've got 2 options here. We can move all of our kit, which was pretty, to be honest, used and abused, with like dirty power bags from being outside and all that stuff. You keep scrubbing them, they're still stained from the mud. And so we can move all the kit across and we can have this shell and do it on, really using the sort of bit of funding that we've got within the business. Or we can go all in. I was actually listening to a podcast with Gavin Dennin.
Was it this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is like podcast inception.
It was quite an early one.
Yeah.
And Gavin said he'd spent like 100 grand on setting up his new facility. And I'd not considered anywhere near that amount. And I thought, okay. And I then spoke with Gavin and said, well, I heard you spent 100 grand. And he's like, well, yeah, at the end of the day, we want to charge a premium rate. We believe in ourselves with our coaching team and what we deliver. So, it's okay, and it's all affordable. We worked it all out.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because like in terms of building the business, you can do it in 1 or 2 ways. And you've actually done both of those. You've done one where you don't need to invest heavily and you can just, focus on that community element. But then you almost you had the client base, you had the proof of concept there. And I suppose the confidence that if you were to go all in, you could actually build something even better than you already have.
I just wanted a facility that better reflected what we offered.
Yeah.
We had good coaches. We've got an ex-Team GB athlete, there. 2 coaches that have been with us from the start, Becky and Jane, our membership manager, who are really passionate about it, love the business, and, have good relationships with the managers. We have good retention despite the bad facility. So I had that confidence to do it. It was just, okay, if we go all in, let's look at the kit, right, 30 grand. The facility's not big enough. So what are we going to do about that? Well, we negotiated some outdoor space, and we wanted some outdoor space, and that was part of the attraction for this.
What we'll do is we'll clip to a shot of the gym now. So if you're watching, you can probably see on screen us entering the gym, and you can see the outdoor space. And it is really beautiful because you've got the countryside outside, so you can see all the fields and greenery.
Yeah,
on a nice day, like, you can have the doors open and have almost like a hybrid of indoor and outdoor training.
Yeah, correct. So
which is really nice.
2 roller shutter doors. So the benefit of having a brand new facility from scratch. So when he showed me, it was literally just a concrete block. That was it, the foundation. And then I could sort of, within reason, we had to stay obviously to the measurements, but could say, right, can we have some outdoor space? Can we have 2 roller shutter doors? Because the original design was just 1. And we were going to put a mezzanine floor in as well, which just enough height on the building to be able to put a mezz in. Not throughout the whole building, but over, so it's 24 metres long, and we had the mezz 10 metres deep and the 8 metres wide.
And how much did you invest into the facility?
So we sat down, literally got a piece of paper out, because I'm a bit old school, do everything on paper still, apart from our membership system and other bits, luckily. But yeah, sat down, said, right, let's write it all out. So we went through the kit. Fortunately, we've evolved our small group to 8. We just find that's a real nice sweet spot. So we knew, right, we need 4 ski ergs, 4 rowers, 4 bikes, because then you can have half the group doing the cardio bit, half the group on the actual sort of, functional strength stuff, whatever it may be. So, okay, do all of this, right, and I just literally off the top of my head went, okay, how much roughly is the outdoor going to be for the canopy? Did some investigating with the mezz, and it came out 100 grand.
Yeah.
So we didn't have that anywhere near that at all. So I said to the coaches, and I'd sort of had a plan B, or a bit of a plan of to how we were going to generate it.
And so what you're about to run through is something that is, I would say, an unconventional way to raise the funds where people you typically wouldn't think, but very practical and very doable for many people listening to this, because some people may go and get a loan from the bank or some other means, or get investment privately. And you kind of did that, but it is quite unique. So I think everyone who is thinking about getting a space and looking to get some funds should really listen up to this next part, because there's something really, really beneficial that potentially can be done here. So can run us through how you got the investment. Yeah,
so we basically looked at a couple of options. So one, I said to the team, look, there's an opportunity here, and I'm glad they didn't really go for this, to be honest. I didn't sort of think they would. I said, well, we could just do 25 grand each. That's easy. And then like some tumbleweed came through, and they all were like, So I said, don't worry, I'm not asking you to all put in 25. So I had a couple of members sort of actually come to me first of all and say, oh, I know you've got this new facility, no doubt it's going to cost. Are you looking for an investor? I didn't want to sell off parts of the business because I feel that there's real growth potential there. I thought, they would be getting an incredible deal out of this if they're at the infancy stages of this new facility. So I did speak to 2 members about the 100 grand. It didn't end up being the right fit. So we do, as again recommended by FMA, Black Friday deals. So we had, of our membership base, we had 25 members that pay annually. I thought, okay, if I sell 3 or 4 year memberships, we'd only ever sold 12 month and 24 month before that. But I thought if I could get 3 or 4 year deals, an average of 5 grand sales for small group, if we could get 20 out of the 25, there's the 100 grand. So that was my first plan. So put a presentation together with some graphics, sat down with them in 1s and 2s, gave them a little tour, and I thought I could probably get 20, having the strong sales background. But of course, it's quite a big ask for someone to invest 3 or 4 years. So some of them just generally didn't have the spare funds, etc. And quite quickly, within meeting about 8 to 10 people, I realised this 100 grand's not going to be sort of produced from that. So I thought, okay, let's have a little look at options. And there was a couple on the table, and I was actually sat just having a coffee one morning at my desk, and I had a chat with a friend about, he said his girlfriend's an ambassador for something. I went, I thought, I like the word ambassador. could we create something I need some big, investment here from a few individuals. So what I created ultimately was, I said when on these presentations, I put something else on the table for people. So for the next 15 people, I said to them, okay, so yeah, we've got 3 and 4 year memberships. You're obviously helping us to get into this new facility. So it'd be really, greatly received if you could support us with this. The top package was 4 years, unlimited coaching for £10,000. I said, now there is a final option. You can receive that £10,000 package for free. And I would just leave it for a moment. And of course, people are like, whoa, hang on, how can I get £10,000, 4 years worth of coaching for free? So I said, that would be becoming an ambassador member with us. This is how it would work. You lend us 25,000 and we're going to pay you that back over 4 years. So we pay you 525 a month, which gives you 25,200. So during that payback period, we will give you the unlimited coaching package for free. So your return on investment is almost 50%. It's £10,000.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Now, some of these members that I was talking to, they've already invested with us for a year. They know our history. They, know, like, trust us, had great results, transformations, all of that stuff. So I don't think this would work if you put out an ad.
Yeah, no, it's got to be to some key people.
Community. And we were fortunate enough that I met with, I put it on the table for 15. 5 were very interested. 1 said yes straight away. And I had sort of 4 maybes. I told everyone that I had some people that had gone with a 3 and 4 year membership. So I had a handful of those. And this was in the July of 2024, early July 2024. We were due to open October and I needed the funds in August. So to get everything going with the mezzanine floor, all the kit ordered, everything else. So I did say to them, right, I need to know, it was sort of the middle of July that I needed to know by. And it got to that morning of, and I'd only had 1 yes so far. We generated about 25,000 so far from the annual memberships. I've done about 5 people. And I'm waiting on, 1 said no, and I'm waiting on 3. So I couldn't cope with it anymore. So I phoned them up individually and just said, look, today's obviously the day. What are your thoughts on this? It'd be great to have you on board, etc. And I feel like it's an incredible deal, once in a lifetime deal for you. And all 3 said yes.
Wow.
So we generated £100,000 from the ambassadors, 4 of them, plus some annual members as well. They all were then agreed to pay on the 1st of August. I then had this 2 weeks, had this great joyous moment of fantastic. We've secured it verbally, put the contracts together, send them out to them. But I had this 2 week period of waiting and the money's dropped. I'm thinking, what if something happens? So anyway, 1st of August, best day, business-wise, financially for us, we had £128,000 drop into our account on the 1st of August.
Wow.
Which, from rewinding back then, where were we? 8 years, 9 years prior to that, ground zero, was, incredible. Obviously 3 years before that with the coach.
And so it was a total of 9 members that contributed. You got the four for the ambassador program. Correct. So really, like, your recurring revenue dip isn't super high to be able to get that to get that investment. But also, it's I know obviously you're trading a service to a few of them. To those 4 key people, but it's an interest-free loan because you're not actually paying more on that. You are providing a service, but you don't have to pay that. So it's kind of like another bounce-back loan in that sense, right?
0%.
Yeah.
It made, if those 4 people would have turned around and said, thanks, Liam, but no thanks, and by the way, I'm handing my notice in, my costs to deliver sessions to our membership base would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost us, if you look at it that way, for them to actually be here for the next 4 years. Our timetabling would be exactly the same for those 4 individuals. So it really is, for us, an interest-free loan. It works great for them. They've got an opportunity. There aren't many people that can have that as an opportunity also. So if they've got it, and it's working, really well for them, they're still loving it. And we got them on, every new member that came on board on the day we opened had a gift box, and for those we had T-shirts with an ambassador thing on their chest.
Nice.
So they've just got that nice little extras.
And so just into the logistics, you did put together a presentation to show these people. It wasn't just a conversation, a chat, right? You had to kind of formally go through a process with each one of them, or
it was simply I thought it'd be nice to do a digital visual aid to the chat, but it was ultimately a conversation. I knew them all well, so they came and met me one-to-one. I walked them around to the facility, showed them the concrete base, and look, it's happening. We've agreed a lease, and this is what we want to do. And then once we did that, I just personally secured it. So I put together just a contract to say that if the business didn't work, I'm a homeowner, and then the loan moves on to me, and I personally owe them the money.
Yeah. So
which I see absolutely no risk, because I know this will work. And
I think it goes back to the very beginning of the journey with us, when you put it on a credit card, right? That there was a risk. What you did technically is a risk, but you have this belief system instilled in you that I know I'm going to make this work, and that's where the fear kind of disappears, or the anxiety disappears.
There's no stress or fear around that. Moving into a brand new facility.
Why do you think that is? Do you just have like so much conviction and belief that you know where you're going to go?
Yeah, in terms of where you're going to go, obviously, this is probably the one thing that I battle with most, is balancing having the drive and ambition, along with also feeling that you're content and happy where you're at today.
Yeah.
So as I'm sure anyone listening to this who has one-to-one clients, we all have wealthy one-to-one clients. You normally have a handful that are wealthy, and you soon learn, if you personally haven't come from money, which I haven't, then you soon learn, because you think there's this real divide in lifestyle, yes, but happiness and enjoyment. You think they're absolutely, living the dream day in, day out, and they're not. They're just the same as everyone else, whether they're worth 1 million, 10 million. The wealthiest client I was training worth sort of 18 million.
Wow.
The same as everyone else, and has the same stresses and everything else. I actually retired, so not in the grind of 18 million and all this responsibility, retired, but still having 8 out of 10 days, great, but also 5 out of 10 days, and with no specific reason for that. So yeah, it's a bit of a sort of an eye opener on that, and I just think, but for me, it's knowing that, finding it hard to balance having that drive and also having the content. And I find that if I get too contented, I get a bit lazy and I lose the drive.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I have the drive, I then find the stress increases because I'm not
enjoying where you are.
Where I am.
Yeah.
So I find I'm on a little bit, and I'm pretty much in the middle. I don't, fortunately don't suffer with any mental health issues or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm a positive person generally. But in the background, sat at home in front of the laptop, which isn't my ideal setting anyway.
I get that sense speaking with you though. I feel like you are very optimistic, and you seem like you back yourself like every time. And again, from the beginning to where you were, and also something I've noticed from this conversation is whether it was the PT mentorship or the gym group or getting the finance, like you have a high level of determination when you have an idea and want to implement it, and you're not afraid to go out and implement that. Whether it's calling someone 2 times a week for 7 weeks with emails, or reaching out to this person who's never going to give a meeting or never going to give you time, or doing this where you think, oh, they're never going to, you're still very you're very goal driven is what I'm sensing from your whole journey throughout. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, once I've got that, once I've made the decision, you're right, that's then let's go do it.
Yeah.
I think that's just something that's probably natural. I've not really necessarily learned that. You could attribute it to, playing sport at a good level as a kid and having supportive parents that give you that self-confidence. So, but I think us as individuals, we all have a range, don't we? The weird analogy that I use is, and we're probably going off a bit of a tangent here, but like a breed of dog, a spaniel's a spaniel, and will be excitable and need lots of walking and everything else, and the bulldog's a bulldog, and they're different. You can't make a bulldog a spaniel from the how much walking it needs and excitement and all that stuff, and I feel that as humans, we're like that, but at the same time, we have a range. So yes, I'm positive, maybe naturally, and will back myself and have that confidence, but also I can learn skills to enhance that further. And other things can happen where actually I'm not on it, because no one's 100% of the time. And I may find that actually I need to take a bit of time out, go and do a pliability run one style thing to get my head in the game, or cold showers to help maximise that area of my personality.
Yeah.
You know, so if we can always just find, right, what are my strengths? Appreciate that there is a range within that strength of whether that's, your positive energy or, self-confidence, but it's not going to be always 10 out of 10 just because that is your strength and it has the potential to be. There will be days, weeks, months, years when it takes knocks, but you just, don't you, dust yourself off, and it's that whole bounce back ability bit of...
Yeah, and again, like we didn't go into it in too much detail, but obviously the journey before this process, so many ups and downs, right? But despite that, you've always been very, very determined. But going back to the gym, you've got the funding, good times, and now it's the process of building out the gym, pre-launching the gym, officially launching the gym, and where we are now. So I know there's, speaking of ups and downs and hurdles, I know there's a few more to come.
Worst, absolute of everything I've gone through up to that point, it was the hardest.
The building of the gym,
absolutely the hardest.
Yeah,
brand new building. Being a project manager, which I've never done before.
Well, that's it, because for a lot of people, the building's already there, and they're moving their stuff into there. So maybe they're dealing with the flooring, or maybe they are adding a mezzanine, but at least the foundation of it is there, where you're starting literally from scratch.
Yeah. So completely. It was a concrete base, and the building's not ours, and that the structure was all getting sorted. But internally, because we were first in as well, the agreement was actually that we need to put in all the toilets. The drainage was going to get sorted by the landowner, but within the four walls, it was just a concrete base, and we had to do everything. So I knew exactly how I wanted it to look, and then thought, okay, well, I'm going to be the best person to just do this. How hard can it be? And probably the best way to describe it, I felt like Ant and Dec were in a room going, now test him on this one. Come on, let's see how much he really wants it. So he's got the 100 grand. He thinks he's, Billy Big Balls. Yeah. Now let's test him with this. Now make this go wrong. Yeah. No, do this one. Every day for about 2 weeks. And then, beyond that, it was 2-3 things a week. And the biggest ones that really hit me, and I didn't probably eat for nearly 48 hours, and I love food as much as anyone else I know, was when it nearly fell apart when I'm 50%. So this 100,000 that has been paid in on the 1st of August, we've signed the contracts, and I go, great, okay, mezzanine floor needs 50% deposit, that's 35 grand. So we paid 20,000 up front for that, first of all, for them to start building it, not within the building, but go and do all the works. Put 50% on the equipment, which was another 37,000. So we paid 18 grand on that. There was other bits that we were putting in, and I contacted the landowner where there was a dispute on some outdoor space, because we had this, I won't go into it, but basically we were just talking about how much space we were going to have, and there was a few things, and it was all professional and it was all fine. And then communication went quiet. And then I was a little concerned with that. And then I contacted the landowner again, and the call didn't go through at all. Basically, it just looked like they weren't happy to go ahead with us anymore. And there was no way of me contacting them. And I'd already fully invested. And I thought, okay, I've signed a contract, but what does that really mean? This isn't going to get me in 3 months' time, and this could all go completely wrong. So fortunately, we overcame that, and within 3 or 4 days, managed to have conversations and bring it back in. And then there was a couple of the big ones was the sanitation. So we couldn't have toilets. So we paid £10,000 for toilets and showers, done them to really lovely high spec. And then we were told about a week before opening that the toilet, there was no drainage signed off by the council, and we weren't able to have them in. So we had to pay for Portaloos £1,300 a month, which isn't part of the budget.
Yeah.
This is a big investment of monthly, much more than the land rent was costing us for the marquee. And well, again, one of the other big ones, we had the mezzanine floor, that was good, but we wanted beautiful glass balcony. And the company that we paid sort of $4,500 for this nice glass balcony to go up on our mezz, delivered the glass on time, but all of the metalwork wasn't done. We ordered it 3 weeks before opening, and it came 3 days before opening, got all the stuff out, and it didn't have the fittings to the floor. So I paid $35,000 for a mezz, everything's all in, and then we couldn't have a balcony. It looked like we weren't going to have a balcony up. I thought, well, we can't do it at all. We have Roger Black booked to open with us. Over 100 members confirmed to come to our open day. And I thought, this is just going to be like a floating floor in the room with no balcony. You can't put people up there, of course, where like little kids can just jump off. So I had to, drive up to Luton at 6 a.m. on the Friday. We opened Sunday. Oh. All this stuff comes Thursday. And Liam, there's a problem. We haven't got the feet for it. So I'm on to the company. No, we can't deliver it. There might be an outlet in Luton. Contacted Luton. Yeah, we could get it to you Tuesday unless you drive up tomorrow. So I went 6 a.m., went and got all the feet, came and did it. Then there was parts of the balcony, just like one thing after another, as anyone, would say, if they're trying to do something, big, then of course you've got to expect it. But it really was one thing after another.
Yeah.
But we got there.
And I think you've had that as an extreme version, but for anyone open a facility, there's always things that you don't expect that will happen. And I've heard it, I heard so many people go, we're going to open on this day. And in my head, I'm like, I always know it could go back a month or two, maybe more, because there's always stuff that comes up that you just don't have to, which you just don't expect.
The other piece with the new part building as well, that a couple of the ambassador members told me afterwards, which the information would have been good before the event, was when they said, so how much was this then? $100,000, for everything all else. I said, well, no, we actually went over budget. I said $15,000 over, which felt like a huge amount to me that we'd gone over, because I wanted to keep quite a good buffer of the annual memberships in the business, and we had to actually pull on that to make it all happen and get over the line. And one of the ambassadors said, well, 15% over budget, that's pretty good for something like this. You think of a stadium which is on a huge scale, but, they can go 200, 300, 400% over budget.
Wow.
And I said, oh, well, if you put it in perspective, 15% over budget is probably not bad. I said, but it'd be nice to know so you could have factored that in at the start. So I think anyone who's looking to start up, and do something like we did, know that it will go over budget, no matter how good you've dialed in and got all your quotes. Little things like the electrician, we had an initial quote, and then they come in, well, if you do want that lighting and those fans, we'll need this and this, and suddenly you're paying them $5,000 more. Yeah. So
after all of that, the facility is pretty much ready to go. Kind of walk me through the layout of it now. So again, we'll put up more footage and kind of do like a walkthrough, but run me through like how the setup looks.
Yeah, I wanted it to feel like a private sort of health club style. The CrossFit box method is obviously very successful, but I feel that's a different demographic to us. And we know if we're going more of a high end, sort of price point, we wanted the same with the feel as well. So that London boutique gym style, but more like, country health club vibe. So walk in, nice cafe area. We had lots of greenery put in, which I've got some stuff in a sort of my conservatory at home, and everyone compliments. I thought that'd be nice. I want that because it's the health and fitness barn. I wanted to keep that country sort of feel. So we've got lots of greenery inside. Big feature wall in the gym with burnt wooden panels, sort of a bit like, on this table,
nice.
With sort of this burnt wood effect, and then lots of greenery. And then we had big neon lights with some motivational words, which we took a little bit of time to think about, okay, what could we have up there? We went with Imagine, Believe, Achieve.
Nice.
Because it was something we'd used during COVID. It was a wall poster that I used in a sort of temporary studio that I was doing home workout videos from. Imagine with all your mind, believe with all your heart, and achieve with all your might. And it's something that then I'd sort of always just had as a little internal dialogue. And I thought, that works well. And we do wellness weekends as well. And on the wellness weekend the year before, we were in the New Forest on this wellness weekend, and we listened to a podcast of an evening. It was one with High Performance Podcast, and they had Arnie. So Arnie was talking about all of his successes in life, and they'd asked him if there's one person, if someone's listening, there's one bit of advice you give them on how to achieve success, what would it be? And he was like, well, first you have to really visualize it in your mind, imagine what you want, think about how that feels, so then you can really believe it and walk that through in your head, and then just, he was sort of said, achieve it with, I can't remember the exact expression he sort of said, but just go all out and to achieve that. And I said to everyone, that is, our imagine, believe, achieve, essentially. So that's what we've got to have up there. So all the members were like, yeah, brilliant. And they were on board with it from the outset.
Nice.
So that's why we put that up, and it's just got sort of a nice indoor-outdoor feel because we've got these huge shutters. And that was an important piece for us. So AstroTurf with the canopy over the top.
Yeah.
And we're not surrounded by any other units at all.
Yeah. And the mezzanine, does training take place upstairs, or is that offices?
No, so we weren't sure how we were going to have it. We thought, do we put partition walls in? There's only just enough head height, and with the structure it means it sort of almost divided it into a 5 by 8 meter space and then a sort of 3 by 5, and then you've got the sort of stairwell too. So it's a small training studio for 8 people. And then we've now got a physio in who's got some partition, just mobile partition things to put in place with a couch. So that's really the physio room, yoga, and any other small group as an extra. So within the facility, we've got 3 small group areas downstairs, the outdoor space, which you can have as a large group, and then upstairs as well. So essentially you could do 4 small group inside and 1 large group outside at one time.
And in terms of a timetable, is it 2 small groups at the same time, or is it just 1 at the moment, or?
No, so we can run 5.
Okay, great.
So so at 9:30 a.m. we'll have, we run open gym as well. So we'd have an open gym upstairs. We'd have 3 small groups downstairs. So 1 on bikes and kettlebells, 1 on ski ergs and power bags, another 1 on the racks. And outside we've then got sleds, battle ropes, tyres, slam balls, all that stuff.
Nice. And so we've got the building set up, and now we kind of move into the pre-launch. So what was your target of new sign-ups before the doors opened?
Yeah, so what we've learned is you don't flood it. First time we ran a campaign with FMA, we had to turn it off because it was just crazy. And of course you're happy days, but you can't service those people as well. No matter how good you are in your team, you just can't take 50 people on that are brand new and ensure that every single person gets high level service. So we knew that 50 people, 25 women for our ladies bootcamp offering, and 25 for all mankind was our target. And we hit that. We then we sort of closed the doors on it and ran.
So the goal was 50 sign-ups, and was that on your 6-week?
So for a 6-week challenge.
And that was at £400?
Yeah, 395.
Perfect.
We did, because we'd never done it in this way before, where it was a set date to start or a set week. We just do it. Okay, you want to start? When's good? Let's start you tomorrow, Monday. When's good? Everyone's on their own 6-week journey. Logistically, we find it too hard to go, right, everyone start on the 1st of the month, because you could sell 25 spaces and then 5 drop out the night before, and you sold yourself short. So we just have everyone on their own, but sort of cap a total on 6-week at one time, so we can service everyone well.
Nice. And in terms of getting those pre-sign-ups, so you ran our pre-launch campaign,
correct,
which basically announced the opening of the gym. You had some really cool drone footage showing the gym, but it was the empty unit you initially had on the ad.
Empty.
Yeah. So this is what I love, because so many people think that you need the gym ready to be able to market, but the reality is it wasn't ready until the open day.
No, it's a metal frame that was in our ads saying we're about to X, Y, and Z. And then when people were sometimes coming for a tour, because we would normally do 1 call closes, but we were excited as well to show people, and it sounds silly, but we were so excited, and we were going and touring people on a concrete slab with just a metal frame. Yeah. Going, wow, look at this, genuinely loving it, and they're like, what? This is a gym.
But it works, and I've seen it happen so many times where people will just market an empty shell, or yours is probably the emptiest shell to be sold because it was just a frame, didn't even have walls or a roof.
Nothing.
But when you, again, people want to kind of I think people get quite excited with something new and being built, and they want to be part of that process when it first opens. But also because you're selling the outcome of what they want to achieve, the fact that it's a new gym is just like a novelty to get people's attention. But ultimately, down on that sales process, you're still selling them where they want to go.
Exactly.
And and it doesn't matter. The fact that you can sell 50 membership at £400 when there is a metal frame and nothing else is the biggest signal and the biggest piece of evidence that you can sell fitness without having a gym, because it's all about what the individual wants from when they go into the gym when it is ready. Obviously, you need a nice space and great coaching to facilitate the service to get them to stay. But from that marketing and sales perspective, you don't need it.
No, you definitely don't need it at all. What we've found from going through the whole process and really delivering at all levels with regards to the sports hall, the renting a big hall or barn, having a marquee, which is great in summer, terrible in winter, and then having this ideal facility is, yes, you can do it at any level, because we were a firm believer that it's a coaching community where people join and results. They join for the results, they stay for the coaching and the community. But actually, the results do show, of course, that although it's if you like, a least contributing factor to your success of having a nice, shiny, ideal facility, it does make a difference. Because we were converting, once on board in the 6-week challenge, we were converting 60 to 70% from that onto our minimum 6-month monthly recurring revenue sort of program, which we call Next Level. So 6-week challenge and then Next Level. Once we did our launch, great. Now, the people that were joining, they're not comparing it to anything. This is the first thing they've been to with us. And the first 30 people that then came through and converted onto, because there were a few that couldn't do it for a few weeks after launch, etc., and joined after. But we literally had 30 people that started in our first week of opening. And out of those, 27 then converted onto our monthly. So 90%.
Wow.
So, yeah, and that is something we'd never achieved before. And it comes down to, yes, we have got the coach in the community and everything else, but of course, the lovely feel. You walk in, we spent about £300 on the scent when you walk in.
The scent?
Yeah, because if you've ever been in a 5-star hotel, you walk in and go, wow, what is that smell? That's what I wanted people to do. I wanted people to come in and go, oh, wow, what is that smell? So we aromatize, I think they're called. There's a little plug from there. Had a little look. They're like a UK business. They sent us through some samples. So, if you sort of try an aftershave and you've got the little cardboard stick.
Yeah.
They just sent us like 20 of those in these little plastic things. And then we actually, part of our staff meeting, I went, right, come on, we're all part of the team. I don't like to dictate, whereas the business owner, there'll be certain things like, yeah, okay, this is happening. But generally, I want them all to have an input. So we literally sat round with these little sort of scent sticks. And that was our team meeting that week was, okay, I want you to rate. I've numbered them. You're going to write them down and then you rate it 1 to 5. 5, you love it, 1, you hate it. Best score wins.
And yeah, so there's a lot of detail that has gone into the facility, from the smell to
100%. So we had that. We bought this lovely studio diffuser, all the usual branded welcome mats and the coffee area. We spent £1,000 on our coffee machine because I'm a bit of a coffee snob.
Is it? Do people pay? Is it?
Yeah, and they pay a bit cheap. So across the road from us, there's a huge garden centre. They charge like £3.95 for a flat white. Ours is £2.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
So, and it's good. It is as good as theirs.
Yeah.
So when we were at the FMA event in Dublin, I was walking back and went to get a taxi to the airport and stopped for a coffee. And I love Bob Marley growing up. And there's Bob Marley coffee in this cafe in Dublin. I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. Went in, had it, and it was just the silkiest, best coffee ever. So when we were getting our coffee machine, I thought, I wonder if you could get Bob Marley coffee, and spoke to a distributor and you could.
Oh, you got it over all the way from Dublin? Oh, wow.
So, so they're a UK distributor, but they've obviously got this cafe in Dublin and other bits. But yeah, we've got Bob Marley branding in our cafe area, and the coffee bean that we've got is called Lively Up. So I thought that's pretty cool. So little touches like that of people coming in versus, a cold, wet, damp marquee, just hugely increased. And of course, these people are paying more than members were paying in the marquee as well. Yeah,
for sure. And so you increase prices.
Yeah.
And then how many members are you now at with the gym? Because you had like a break even point, and then also beyond that. So where are you at now with the gym?
200.
Nice.
So like 202 total members.
Nice.
We're at 175, 176 monthly recurring revenue.
Okay.
The rest are made up of annuals and our ambassadors.
Okay, nice, perfect.
So after the launch, we then had some members saying, can I do an annual? And from those 6 weekers,
okay, cool. So you got some more people going there.
I love this. I definitely want to do a year, or they've got a 12-month goal, very hard deadline. I'll just pay up front.
Nice. And what's the monthly recurring now?
So we're at 25.
Okay, so it was, so all the way back it was 3 to 4, up to 16, and then now it's 25 with no front end sales on top.
25
Perfect.
before we do any front end sales, which covers all our costs, pays me sort of a standard wage, and then covers costs for everyone.
Yeah. And
so
also I imagine your costs are going to go
days.
down soon, because once you get the toilet sorted, there's 1,300 knocked off. Obviously those loans will take a little while, but those will probably take up a small chunk there as well, so that will come off in the future. And then of course you can increase revenue there. So
with this year we've targeted to take on 80 new members. We looked at our timetable. We've got a part-time member of staff who's great and really popular, keen to come on board full-time, so I'm very keen, so that we don't lose him, to feed enough classes and extend the timetable to bring him on full-time. And then it's funny how, again, the analogy of probably this one would be, I think, when you hear of a woman who's maybe been through a really tough childbirth and says, right, that's it, never having another child, and maybe if it's her first child, and then a year later, we're going to have another one, and it's really changed my mind, because you forget the pain. So it was probably the hardest thing I've done in business was launching a new facility. I always said, my advice to anyone, if you're going to go into a facility, make sure it's not a brand new building. You don't have to project manage it or be part of that, because there's so many things that go wrong. And it's just super stressful. On the site where we are the only unit at the moment. So he's got planning permission for another unit. And already I'm thinking, okay, that could be nice, because where do we go from here? The online isn't an attraction for me personally. So we could set up another unit, 10 miles down the road. But actually, I believe there's enough potential business.
You should get
locally.
I reckon, like where you're based, that you should do like sauna and ice tubs out there. Like in
so
terms
we've
of
left the space for that. Actually,
because in terms of the aesthetics, like of how nice it looks, one, people will just go there out of it, but two, it's like an add-on for the membership.
So our outdoor space, we've got 24 meters by 4.5, astroturfed, and the canopy, we actually ran out of budget to go full length. And I was thinking, so it's £10,000 for the canopy outside. So we've got a big industrial canopy over the top. And I've done that over 20 metres. So the last 4 metres of Astro, or the first, whatever way you look at it, doesn't have a canopy over it. But in my mind at the time, before we all sort of set it up, I thought, actually, that works well, because we can either then put a log cabin on as our rejuvenation centre, or we can have it open air and just sort of fence it off with nice greenery to screen it.
I think where you're based, it could actually be really nice, actually.
Open air. And the plan is to have 3 or 4 ice baths and then a sauna. Because it's right next to the reception door and the showers. Once they're all fully functioning, then that will work well. And with the second, I'm looking, although the planning permission hasn't been granted in the ideal place for us, it's on the other side. I'm actually going to speak to the landowner, I think, in due course, once we're hitting targets this year. Before the year's out, I've set myself the goal to have a conversation with him where we could look to have another unit butted up against us, so it's an L shape, and then extend the Astro so that we can have not just 24 metres of sort of straight run, but in an L shape. And then create 2 new. We wouldn't go for a mezz, but we'd open that up and have 2 more studio spaces. And that way we've then, able to extend our timetable, because I think, we run 6:30 a.m, 9:30, 12:30, 5, 6, 7, 15. Trying to put in times outside of that just aren't that popular, and we can fill it with yoga and some other things, but essentially the peak times are always going to be the peak times. So the only way to expand on site, I find, really, once you've exhausted your current sort of floor space, is to then put another one on. So that's the goal that I'm going to say now. So I've committed.
It's on camera now. So we'll have to bring you back to see how things have gone for part 2.
And really just fund that from putting money aside from the current membership base. So we won't need investment
moving forward.
We look to go, okay, now let's put that in, invest it back into the business, and organically grow forward from there. And the last thing I'd sort of say on that is that then for me, who knows? But I think I would like to then leave it at that level.
Yeah.
I think there's so much out there that makes us feel like we should be aiming for the stars, and you see like the Hormozy style, 40 million in 5 years or whatever it might be. And that doesn't, as I go back to what we said earlier, whether you're worth, not much, 4 million, 40 million, 400 million, the happiness probably day to day doesn't change that much. Yes, it gives you options, financial freedoms, and a lot more that you can do. But I think you have to find that level, and it doesn't mean that you have to be the top 1% to have happiness in your business life, your personal life, and everything else. And I think sometimes people have to wrestle with that, and you have to understand that success comes in lots of different ways, and so does happiness. And that ultimately you've got to find what really does make you happy. And for me, it's because I'm very family oriented and still taking the kids to school and still having that balance, and being able in future to be able to let the business run itself, for me to step away back. I know that having one facility, I'm not going to be able to sell it really, realistically. But if it means that I've got this business that I love, I've tried drawing away from it and doing just the marketing bit. It doesn't make me happy. Sat at a laptop for 3 days in a row makes me very unhappy.
Oh, really? So actually being involved is actually something that but I think that's nice, right? Because there's so many, it's like, you build the business, then you get off the gym floor, and to a degree, it's important to not be fully on the gym floor, because otherwise it's going to be very hard to run your business. But if you truly love coaching people and you wanted to build, your dream facility, and you find fulfillment for that, then you should absolutely do it. Because otherwise, if you're just going to end up, like so many people go, they go from a corporate job sitting behind a desk, and they go, I want to PT people. The PT people, they get a gym, step away and just focus and sit on a desk at a laptop again. So you've got to actually remember why you did it in the first place, right? And I think like that last thing you said is a really nice bit to wrap up on, in terms of like being content in the success that you have created for yourself, rather than looking outwards, seeing what others are doing and going, maybe I could have that, and consistently feeling a little bit unfulfilled. Because as long as what you're doing, you're able to help other people, and in turn, and that rewards you. It doesn't matter exactly what the number is, as long as that is able to, provide for yourself, your family, maybe a little bit extra, and you're able to find fulfillment in all of those things, then you're winning essentially. But everyone's different, and not everyone has to just go 100 miles an hour all the time, right?
Yeah, that's it. So
amazing. Well, Liam, it's been one, it's amazing having you as a client, in terms of over the years, seeing where you've gone. It's also been very cool to kind of revisit those areas again and just go over your journey. And it's a privilege to have you as an FMA client, and it's been amazing to help you get to where you are today. But we're at the same time, and we're looking forward to helping you just get to that peak of where you want to go in your business, and help you get there. So thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being a great client.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I didn't say, but I couldn't have done it without FMA. I really believe it's such an important part. Obviously, you don't do it for us, but there's so much support, and it's not just the skills and tools that you give us, but as we said, the community, the whole piece. You guys are doing an incredible job, and I can't thank you enough, really, for all the support you've made, help make it happen.
Amazing. Well, thank you, and we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode.
Cheers.
Boom. Nice.